Chapter 19, Part 2, The Independent Flight. On June 27th, 2 days before the flight, Mom, I, and Tanya, accompanying me, went to the bus station. It was really early. Mom looked into the beautiful sunrise, mesmerized into its fluorescence and magical, almost unreal luminescence. Try to catch some English. You will see Manhattan with all its awkwardness and uniqueness, Mom thought out loud. I thought to myself as to why in the world I needed to catch some English if I was going there for 2 months. Who cares about stupid English? Let me just have fun. But before snapping unnecessarily with accusations, I thought further that maybe she was just saying it because it is generally good to know the universal language of the world. The bus came, and I gave Tanya a kiss on the cheek and unwaveringly told her I would be back. We got to Haifa and stayed with some relatives who I didn't know. While there, Mom had a random question for me. We were in the bathroom as she critically examined herself in the mirror and fixed her hair. "Alina, would you invite your father to your wedding?" she asked with anticipation of a certain answer. "Of course, no question about it. He's my father, you know," I replied unhesitatingly. Mom started saying all the bad things he had done towards her, beating her, she said, to dissuade me from wanting to invite my dad. I didn't believe one word of what Mom said. Dad never touched a fly, let alone me. And on the opposite, he protected me from Mom's blows. He definitely was not going to beat Mom. I witnessed Mom biting my dad on the back while living with them. Mom knows how to be the alpha woman when she wants to. She shouldn't play the victim. For the rest of my time in Israel, I hung out with some guy who happened to be my age, who was the son of my relatives. The guy told me that he would learn English within 2 months fluently, and I should feel myself lucky I was going there. I thought he must be very smart. I knew some English here and there from studying in school, but not nearly enough to speak it fluently. I only started learning the English alphabet in 4th grade and had some scattered vocabulary here and there. English was very far-fetched for me. Far-fetched from me, though. I couldn't construct a comprehensive sentence in retrospect to a comprehensive sentence. In retrospect to that ambitious statement, it did not quite come to me in 2 months, and I was studying it indefatigably day and night, so I would dismiss that expectation and that guy's wishful thinking. The guy didn't know what he was talking about. While being in the car, for some reason, I was saucy towards Mom. She treats me like a girlfriend, and I treat her like a girlfriend back. And Grandpa didn't like my freestyle talk to Mom. So Grandpa made the remark that I would find myself to be a beggar when I grew up in a manner that he anticipated to set me straight. I felt insulted. Grandpa had judged me only from the small time that he had known me since last he saw me when I was an infant. In fact, I didn't know of his existence until I was 10, and he already decided what my potential would amount to. All my grandma's claims about him seemed to be true. I judged him back. The air in the car was so uncomfortable. June 29th came, and we were in a long line in the airport of Ben Gurion in Tel Aviv. Once it was time to check out, the lady explained to us, Mom and me, that Mom couldn't accompany me beyond the metallic door. The lady further explained that I was old enough to go by myself, but if I were scared, Mom could order an escort for additional pay. Mom didn't even give us time to let us negotiate the matter between the two of us, and she promptly answered the lady, "Yechola lelechet levad." She can go alone. My heart violently thumped at the idea. The lady explained what to do, and I registered everything in like a sponge out of ultimate fear of journeying to Zimbabwe or something else but the intended destination if I had missed a detail. I even stutteringly repeated after every word she told me. Everything happened so quickly that I didn't even have the time to argue with Mom that I truly wanted to get an escort. It felt like the entire world was on my shoulders. Mom walked me to the door and gave me my passport. "Your entire life is in your passport. Don't you dare lose it," Mom warned. Mom didn't even give me a purse or something. I was holding in the passport in my sweaty hands the entire time. I was dressed very stylishly with jeans, pants, a skin-hugging shirt, of a young girl on a blue background with a brown leather hat. It looked very cute. As I stood before that door, I thought of canceling everything and not going, but I didn't dare to say it because I knew that would discombobulate Mom with temper, so I didn't want to try her. Mom gave me a greedy hug, suspiciously greedy, as if we really were not going to see each other, and turned the other way. I opened a heavy metallic door and felt like I was entering a labyrinth. I tried to keep myself calm by repeating Mom's ultimate promise to me that I was going back. I made it so convincing in my mind that I pushed all of my suspicions of her aside. I walked through the door, pushed every other unnecessary thought, and stuck to thinking of the lady's instructions like a magnet sticking to the metal. Although within my consciousness I was shuddering with fear, I played the entire conversation between her and me and all of the questioning in my head like a tape recorder. I was so focused in imagining the physical layout of my steps as if I saw the infrastructure of the airport in my head in a vivid image of a map, as if I was a professional spy knowing all the landmarks and foreign whereabouts and out on a mission to find some destinations to gather information from my enemy to the country that I pleaded loyalty to. I never knew I had that in me. I guess fear can spike up your skills and concentration. I'm usually very bad with the directions. Not this time. I knew every twist and turn. In the back of my head, I felt a streak of second guessing. I felt a sense of abandonment and an amazing sense of responsibility over my own being as adrenaline started rushing through my overall system. I felt I was facing an internal fight between self-confidence and doubt. I didn't dare let doubt take over me. I voraciously hunted for gate number 31, tightly grasping my passport and my tickets in my hand, and my vision felt unimaginably acute, almost like an owl's in the night. I finally found it. I tried to keep my composure. Even though I saw the number of the gate I had to go through, which was number 31, I still asked people if the destination was New York to reaffirm the absolute fact that I was not going to the wrong plane. Seeing that I was young and inexperienced, they reassured me back. In order to get to the plane, we had to take a short bus ride. As I was riding, holding onto the bar in one hand, a lady there noticed my piqued nervousness and my squeezing of my documents in another hand to the point that my hand looked rather red. As she glanced over, she saw that I was holding 2 tickets. Like Mom, she warned not to lose my second ticket going back to Israel. After the lady acknowledged me, I felt further reassured as her worry about me coming back to Israel made Mom's promise more of a reality to me. We boarded the El Al plane, and I sat at the lowest class seats. I wondered what it would be like to sit in the first class, but I tried not to complain. I was sitting next to 2 English-speaking girls who were about my age. I barely could understand what they were trying to say, but I did understand that they had an escort. I was jealous of their security. Luckily, I sat next to the window, but the entire 11 hours of flight, I didn't dare to go to the bathroom even once, because I was afraid I was going to misplace my documents as I held my passport and my back trip ticket in my hand. When we were about to land, a flight attendant approached me and gave me a form in English to fill out. I told her that I couldn't fill it out because I didn't know English. She said that I should give her my passport and she would fill it out for me. After some time, the flight attendant returned and told me to hold on to the form she filled out as she gave me my passport back. As we approached New York, I saw the Statue of Liberty and I thought how Mom was doing and whether or not she was thinking of me. At last we landed. As people were getting their luggage from the top compartment of the plane, I suddenly wondered what had happened to my luggage that I checked out. I honestly thought that the luggage that we check out goes through the conveyor belt that is built under the ocean and it reappears at the destination that you go to. I was afraid that my luggage fell off the conveyor belt or something was happening under the sea. As I exited the plane, I saw a guy in the first class seats getting his stuff from the top compartment of the plane. Can I cling to you? I daringly asked. קצת מפחדת, a little scared. I continued with the justification of my intrusive request. He looked at me as he was getting his stuff, and probably noticing that I was just a harmless kid, he said, "אין בעיה, תדבקי אליי כמה שאת רוצה. There's no problem. Cling to me as much as you want." The guy appeared to be in his 20s. When we exited the plane and entered into JFK airport, the airport was packed. Literally, there was no room to move. I asked the guy what happened, and he explained to me that 6 airplanes from all over the world had landed at the same time. Inside, I thought, there is nothing to worry about. I have my guy to cling to. As I looked around, there were all kinds of people speaking different dialects. I've never seen such a melting pot in my entire life. I came from a country of exclusively Jewish people with the same heritage, but this time I was exposed to Indians, Asians, and Africans that all looked extraterrestrial to me. I also looked at the American guards, who animatedly spoke in English. I couldn't catch one word except for "don't." I was overwhelmed and at the same time filled with ultimate curiosity. Because there were so many people to process documents, what the JFK staff did was create a zigzag line that lasted for 3 hours. The citizens of the United States were allowed to leave and skip the line, but the tourists had to go through it. I was the tourist. In order to not allow my nerves dictate my state of being, I started passionately and vivaciously talking to my guy about all kinds of topics, and he engaged with me with the same level of energy. I didn't know where I was going to go beyond the line, but I tried not to think about that, as well as not to think where my luggage was. I was so engaged in my interaction with the guy I clung to that I forgot even where we were. Finally, we got to the end, and I had to show my documents to the lady. The lady took time in reading my passport and then started speaking to me in Russian. She knew I was Russian speaking because my last name is typically Russian. I was so relieved that she spoke Russian. My heart didn't pump as hard when I heard her speak to me, but she looked at my documents and said, "Девушка, у вас нету адреса. Girl, you don't have an address." My heart started pumping again. Какой адрес? Which address? I asked in cluelessness. Адрес, куда вы идете? Address where you are going to, she answered. Я не знаю мой адрес. Мой адрес. I don't know my address. I answered clearly, but nervously. Подождите здесь. Wait here, she answered in return. And she pulled me aside out of the line. Because of 9/11, security was at its edge. I was known to be a minor in the passport, and in their policy, they would not release a minor without confirming the minor's address. However, I didn't understand at the time what was happening, and my bucket of nervousness was filling up every minute that went by, and nothing was happening. I stood aside for half an hour in cluelessness and utter confusion. The guy that I clung to was separated from me, which put me at a major unease. Suddenly, my Prince Charles popped out from nowhere. He was a blonde and blue-eyed guy looking in his 20s too. He gallantly approached the Russian lady and extended a slip of paper to her, saying, "This is the young lady's address." I felt like a queen when he called me young lady. I forgot about the other guy that had saved me out of nervousness for a while and was ready to marry my Prince Charles. As my address was confirmed, I was explained by the lady that I had to go to gate 31 to get my luggage after I went through the checkpoint. As she correctly instructed me, I had to go through the checkpoint where I submitted my passport. The African-American guy warningly asked me with a quivering voice, "Do you speak English?" As he looked at my 6-year-old profile picture in the passport. "No," I shook my head. He disapprovingly shook his head. As far as I understand, his concern was that there was a lot of human trafficking, and because I had no escort, and despite of proving my address, he was still concerned. As far as proving my identity and all of the documents he needed from me, there was no more information he could chuck out of me. If I was really in that slave industry, he hoped that I would be able to tell him. But because I didn't speak English, it made the guy uneasy. That is what I think was going on in his head. went to gate 31 and tried to look for my luggage. I couldn't find it for my life. I thought of going back to the Russian lady, but I couldn't pass that point again. Thankfully, Prince Charles found me tearing up. He didn't need to ask me what was going on because he understood, or rather, I hoped he understood. He murmured something as a question, and I hoped the question was whether or not I could find my luggage. Not understanding the question, I hopingly nodded no, as if to say that I couldn't find my luggage. We went to gate 31, and he looked at my passport so that he would know what name to look for. I pointed at suitcases that I thought looked like mine. He would take them out, and as we both would confirm that they were not mine, he would put them back on the conveyor belt. All of a sudden, he found my suitcase himself. I thought he was a champion. He asked, "That's it?" I showed with my hands that was it. He carried my luggage to the exit like a true gentleman, and I was thinking what I would have done without him. In the distance, I saw Grandma Moisha, my aunt, and 5-year-old Dovey, and we all hugged, and I felt like a huge stone fell off my shoulders. I could finally relax, be a kid, start my long-awaited vacation, and let go of my passport as my palms were exorbitantly sweaty and my superb vigilance could start decreasing. With the Lord's supervision, I came to New York to JFK from Ben Gurion, Israel on June 29th, 2003 at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I swore to myself that I would never forget that nerve-wracking day, even when I was going to be 81 years old. I wished upon no kid to have gone through the stress and the uncertainty that I've gone through in that experience.